call the member for Tarneit.
Thank you, Speaker. It is with great honour that I stand here today, a proud representative of Tarneit and its people in Melbourne's rapidly growing Outer West. And it is a privilege to speak before this Parliament for the very first time. I firstly would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and to the ongoing relationship that they and their families share with this beautiful land. Congratulations, Premier, on your re-election, and to the Speaker for his continued role. And to my honourable friends and colleagues, I know together we will be working tirelessly over the next 4 years, delivering to the Victorian people we now represent. I acknowledge the former member for Tarneit, Telmo Linguilla. I'd also like to pay a special mention to a former representative of Tarneit who sits in this chamber, my fellow Westie, the Honourable Member for Werribee. Tarneit is the Wathaurong word for the colour white. It's a language that was once spoken by 15 clans of the Wathaurong people, one of the 5 tribes encompassing the far-reaching Kulin Nation of central Victoria. And I share this now out of respect for a language now largely considered extinct, and to acknowledge that there is much sorrow in the history of this land, a history that should never be forgotten as we look to the future. The Tarneit I represent today is a reflection of the very beginning and the very best that is 21st century Melbourne, and the shining success that is multiculturalism. Situated on the outer rim of our metropolis, Tarneit is an electorate abounding with the culture, language and food of tribes that originate from every corner of our world. We're a community with a massive bilingual population, where our people can say loudly and say proudly that they're Australian, and they say it in Hindi, in Urdu, in Filipino, Arabic, Dinka, Gujarati, Punjabi, Mandarin, and in English. And of course, Speaker, I could go on. And Speaker, we do this as your nurses, your bus drivers, truck drivers, small business owners, construction workers, tradies, teachers, paramedics, aged care workers, shop assistants, early childhood educators and more. Our children aspire to be the next doctors, engineers and scientists, to kick the winning goal on the last Saturday in September, or to stand on stage before thousands of screaming fans. We are a community that aspires to do great things. We are changing the face of Victoria as we continue to lay the foundations of success for generations to come. More than half of the residents across Tarneit moved to Victoria and into the electorate within the last 10 years. And now home to over 96,000 people, we are young families, individuals striving for a brighter future. Families taking a chance, just like mine. We made the choice to pack up everything we had and we travelled across this country, while many others travelled from far-off lands. And it's here that we came, settling down on the outskirts of Melbourne. And we put down roots, sent our kids to local schools, and this is now where we call home. I grew up in Kingscliff in northern New South Wales. I'm the eldest daughter of Ray and Jenny Keys, who are sitting here in the gallery behind me today. My father is a milkman, and Mum did what so many women do and gave up her career as a nurse to stay at home and raise her 3 children. She has worked in family daycare and later as an early childhood educator. And Mum most recently did a TAFE course in aged care. And she now works as a carer for our elderly in a nursing home. While growing up, Mum focused on our education and schooling. Dad focused his attention towards providing his kids with an education in politics and in music. Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen, the Rolling Stones, Graham Parsons and Johnny Cash are just a few that provided a musical backdrop for debate and a robust political discussions that resonate with me today. And all those mealtime family debates had prepared me well. I wasn't shy about putting forward my opinion and challenging others, particularly where politics was involved. I grew to be an individual that can hold their ground and argue passionately for their beliefs while maintaining an openness to persuasion by sound reason and evidence. For me, it felt only natural to be in a courtroom on my feet mounting an argument. I always assumed I'd end up studying and practicing law, not here in this place making it. Like many students, I left home at 18 to move to Brisbane and study law at the University of Queensland. My time at university taught me many things, but above all else, it taught me to be a free and critical thinker and the importance of challenging the status quo. Commercial, contract and property law felt utterly soulless to me. I wanted to do more, to stand up for people that needed a voice, to mount arguments for those in need and for issues that really did matter. And for me at the time, this meant the always complex issue of crime and criminal law. Now, I'm a true believer that one of the best attributes public school students derive from their education is resilience. I had no networks, no friends with connections in the legal world, but I did what public school students do. We knock on every door, we fail, and we try again. And through determination, I gained work experience with police prosecutions. I worked as a paralegal at the Department of Public Prosecutions, as a legal secretary at a Brisbane law firm, and then finally as an associate with a district court judge. And all the while, I continued to study. As an associate, I travelled the trial circuit across southeast Queensland, and for the first time, was able to really understand how the lack of opportunity can affect people's lives. I saw what happens when someone misses out on an education for reasons out of their control, when they don't have family to support them, and when they fall through the net of community support services. I saw the struggles faced by some of the most disadvantaged people in our community, individuals who our society had, for one reason or another, failed. And my sense of social justice runs deep, and you will never hear me use throwaway slogans talking about crime. I've listened to victim impact statements that have rocked me to the core. I've watched many, many people sentenced to prison, and I've taken statements from behind prison walls. The year I graduated from university, my ambition was set to take off with a future in law. But then life intervened, as it does, by chance or by fate. It was also the year I met a young, up-and-coming union official from the Transport Workers Union. Meeting Scott was the first and only time I've ever been lost for words. It was love at first sight and set my passion for social justice on a very different path. We quickly moved to Canberra together, set up a house, and our relationship continued to thrive on love and our shared passion for justice, politics, and the union movement. I secured a graduate position with the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission and then took up a role at the Australian Energy Regulator. And my passion for our energy future and that of our planet was inspired. Energy fascinated me. I've spent the last 13 years working across 3 different states on all aspects of the energy sector. This sector's ability to tear down governments and incite political debate that reaches kitchen tables across our country doesn't surprise me. I've worked on policy and regulatory reform, on pricing and compliance. I've witnessed 10 years of instability and our country's inability to move forward. This failure inspired me to get more politically involved, and these experiences have played a big part in leading me here today. A national consensus and an action plan in our energy sector is necessary for our future. I've never been one to sit on my hands when something needs doing, and I'm proud of the Andrews Labor government's commitment to getting things done. With a renewable energy target of 50% by 2030 and a commitment to net zero emissions by 2050, the future is now. And under this government's leadership, Victoria is leading the way. In my experience, passion for renewable technology transcends socioeconomic circumstance, and it fills me with the deepest pride to say that Tarneet has the highest uptake of this government's solar package program. My experience in an industry which revolves around long-term infrastructure planning has taught me that it's important to get it right. The West is an extraordinary place to live, and that's why so many people are moving there and calling it home. In the Outer West, the Andrews Labor government rose to the challenge of building the much-needed infrastructure that was already so far behind. From train stations and roads to new schools, kinders and modern hospitals, so much was done in just 4 years. And we're not slowing down. The city of Wyndham is now bigger than Greater Geelong, with about 95 babies being born every single week. We need to keep building more kinders and schools to give our kids the best start in life. Tarneit needs more parking at its train stations and needs new stations to cope with its enormous and rapid growth. We need more buses to get commuters to and from these stations. Our roads are heavily congested because despite Tarneit train station being the second busiest station outside of Southern Cross, over 70% of us drive to work. Speaker, the $1.8 billion Western Roads package, which will upgrade and duplicate many roads across the Tarneit electorate, will be life-changing for residents. The Westgate Tunnel will be life-changing for residents. Removal of Old Geelong level crossing in Hoppers Crossing within the next 4 years, Speaker, will be life-changing for my electorate and for surrounding suburbs. Too long have we been trapped behind boom gates and in congestion. Now, in finishing up, I'd like to give special thanks to the people that helped guide me here today. To Secretary John Berger of the Transport Workers Union, for the support he and his outstanding team have given me, for believing in me and always fighting for justice. Thank you. I won't let you down, comrades. And to Mem Suleiman from the Transport Workers Union, your friendship, candour and good humour will always be welcome. To the Honourable Adam Somyurek in the other place, your wavering support and guidance has been indispensable. Thank you. To the Honourable Marlene Carews from this place, for always supporting me and offering me your assistance to run a really strong campaign in Tarneit. Thank you. To the member for Sydenham, Natalie Hutchins, and to your larger-than-life late husband, Steve Hutchins. You have been with me on my journey here and into the TWU family since my wedding day, many, many years ago. And as a member of this House, you are and always will be an inspiration for all women wanting to enter politics. Thank you. To former Senator Trish Crossan, Mohammed Massoud, Robert, Nathan, Brett, Sean, Maddie, Joseph, Anne, and the hundreds of other volunteers that dedicated their time to the Tarneit campaign. There are just so many of you to name, but I've got a lot here in the gallery today. You know who you are. Campaigns are a team effort, and elections are not won without the support of true believers, both in the candidate and in the party. Thank you. To my mother and father, you raised me with the values that I embody today, and for that I say thank you. You weren't surprised when I told you I was going to run for Parliament, and every parent knows their child like no other. And no doubt you always knew I would eventually find myself on this path in this place. To my children here in the gallery, Emily and Leo, watching you embrace so many other communities, new experiences and make so many new friends has been one of the greatest joys, and it is certainly one of the greatest things about multiculturalism. It's not always easy, and I love you guys. To my husband, Scott, there's so much I could say. You've believed in me, my strength, determination and passion from the moment we met. Since then, we've shared the highest highs and the lowest lows together. Never doubting that I'd make it to this moment along the way, your belief in me and the good work that I will do for the people of Tarneit and the people of Victoria is something that requires acknowledgement. I love you. To my firstborn, Vivian, who is not sitting here in the gallery today, but sits here inside of my heart. At the end of this month, you would be 10 years old. and motherhood changes a woman. And learning to be a mother to you, a child I'm unable to hold or kiss, has been the biggest challenge of my life. You have taught me that a mother's love transcends this world. You have taught me that no matter how difficult things become, life keeps moving and I keep moving with it. But most of all, you have given me a deep sense of compassion, of empathy and understanding for the thousands of other couples struggling to become parents. Now, one of our former Prime Ministers, the Honourable Paul Keating, once said, "There is a place for sadness and melancholy. It's what fills you out. We don't want to be sparkling and happy all the time. You need the inner life, the inner sadness." I understand that. I believe that. And lastly, to the thousands of families across Tarneit, opportunities for our families will not be defined by postcode. I've always said we need and deserve a fighter, a voice that is fair and reasonable, that will represent all of us, no matter the colour of our skin, our religious beliefs, or the size of our bank account. You asked for a representative that your children can look up to and aspire to be. You asked for one that will unite our community in the Outer West through the coming decades of tremendous growth with a steady hand and a courageous heart. We're bred to be tough in the Outer West. We're hardworking, and we call it as it is. I asked to be your representative in this place, and you put your strength behind me, sending me here with a very clear mandate to get us moving. You bestowed in me your own hopes, your dreams, sharing a vision for our future. Tarneit, my new family, I won't let you down. Thank you, Speaker.